Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Small Talk. I would like to introduce my guest, Paul Wilson. Wilson. I'm having trouble with
Hi.
my words today. One of the things that you had mentioned before I started recording is about plastic bottles, and the damage it causes. Let's expand on that a little bit, if you don't mind.
Okay, well, that's a great thing. I think the more the public is aware of this scenario, the better it is. So, about 10 years ago, I was involved with a company in microbiology where we used friendly bacteria in order to degrade certain types of waste.
Oh,
And they use them in wastewater treatment facilities and that sort of thing. So, it was interesting because one of the companies I was involved with was also involved in water purification and alerted me to the fact that the plastic bottles that everybody at the time was starting to use, and it was considered sort of the cool thing to do was to have bottled water with you in your backpack and that type of thing. Not realizing, of course, that the PET bottles, the plastic bottles that are manufactured for Coca-Cola and PepsiCo and Nestle and all the rest of them, are actually not recyclable.
Right. Okay.
A lot of people think, well, let's put them in the recycle bin, and that's a good idea. But unfortunately, they cannot be melted down as people think. So the only way they can really be recycled is to squish them into retaining walls or things like that.
Right.
So unfortunately, in most of the world, it ends up either in landfill or being thrown away somehow. And as a result of that, even 10 years ago, there was 4 islands in the oceans around the world that were made up of plastic bottles, not just bottles, water bottles, but, soap bottles, whatever, there's so much plastic around. Even the containers from fast food restaurants used to be styrofoam or plastic. And as a result, there was an island, the very first one, that happened with the ocean currents. Any plastic that ended up in the ocean would sort of eventually go and be corralled by the ocean currents. And the first island that we were aware of is in the South Pacific. And it was, and still is, 9 feet thick of plastic.
Wow.
And guess what the size is? Anybody know the size? It's the size of the state of Texas.
Oh my gosh.
And that's pure plastic.
Right.
So there is a young fellow that's created a product that will harvest the plastic out of the water and scrunch it and, somehow get it back onto shore to be dealt with properly. But, that's still in the works. Now, 10 years later, there's 8 of those islands around the world.
Oh my goodness.
So it's a major problem. So what I did in my personal little way was I combined it with my business, and I invented a machine that would help to eliminate the use of bottled water bottles. And by utilizing our tap water. Now, especially in North America and Europe, our tap water is really, really good.
Right.
But it's got chlorine in it, which makes it taste bad.
Yeah.
And people don't like the idea of drinking chlorine, and it doesn't taste good, and so fair enough. So what I did is I created a machine originally for the University of British Columbia. They asked me to create a machine.
Okay.
And I did, and that was UBC Okanagan.
Okay.
And I created this machine that had filtration on board and refrigeration, and it had carbon block filters in it so that it would actually remove the chlorine that was put there to protect the water en route to where you're drinking it.
Right.
And it's really important that we have the chlorine in the water because we really do need to kill the viruses and bacteria that are just naturally there, and they gather in pipes and places like that. So, but once it gets to your home, you don't need it anymore. So I created this machine and I called it the water fills machine. When I went to find a name to trademark the name and all of that, all the big boys, like I mentioned before, Coke and PepsiCo and Nestle's, they all had every name to do with water machines tied up.
Wow.
Like there's thousands of names.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So one of the people that work with me suggested, let's go with something really modern. So we called it the water fills machine. WATERFILLZ at the end. So nobody had that. So we trademarked it and registered it in the all the countries in the European Union, as well as in Canada, the United States.
Right.
So that gave us a good start, and we created the machine. It was a huge success because the students were given free drinking water. This was all because of the Students' Union at UBC Okanagan. They wanted to provide that for their student body. And of course, as you know, students, they don't have a ton of money typically.
No. Yeah.
So if they didn't have to spend $2 on a bottle of water and they got it for free, that was a real hit. And they do pay money for the student union dues every year, but this was a way of the student union giving back.
Sure.
So it was a tremendous success. So UBC Okanagan all of a sudden ordered 5 more. And then UBC Vancouver found out about it. And then SFU was not going to be outdone, or University of the Fraser Valley. Needless to say, it spread like wildfire. The company was a huge success. We won Best New Business of the Year award for the city of Surrey, which is a really big deal.
Right.
And so that was a memorable occasion. And it was terrific because, you know, I'd be on a business trip to Montreal to go and sell McGill University's machines. And I'd be sitting on WestJet and, you know, somebody beside me would say, so what do you do for a living? So I would start into this story, this marvelous story about this feel-good product that's actually helping the world.
Right.
And all of a sudden, all the seats around you were all excited and listening and can I have your business card? And we need this in our city. So then the cities got involved, and we sold everybody from Victoria, Campbell River, all the local cities, Burnaby, Surrey, all the way across Canada, and started into the US. So at one point in time, I decided maybe what we should do is have a counter on the machine, so it counts how much water goes through, how many times people have filled up a typical water bottle. And then that little number would say total bottles saved from going into the environment. And so we did that. And when I sold the company to retire, about 5 years ago, we were 5 full years into it, and we had saved over 35 million bottles on these counters from going to landfill, which is enough to fill BC Place Stadium a number of times. So it made a difference, and the machines are still out there. I am now working as a consultant with a company in Ottawa, and their machine is called the Aquapod, and I help design that for them, and I work with them on a daily basis. Unfortunately, the company that purchased Water Fills decided they wanted it for a different purpose, and they ended up shutting it down. So it was a real shame. So it was terrific when this company called Aquaholics came along and said, we would like you to help us build a machine and promote it. So we're today now selling the machines. They're a lot better quality and more technical, of course, as time goes on.
Yes.
You know,
technology changes and
there's changes and improvements. So today the water is perfectly clean. We take the chlorine out of it. We have ultraviolet in there just to make sure there's no, rogue viruses or whatever in the water. So, and then it goes into cooling and comes out and it automatically senses your bottle. So there's not even a button to push, which during COVID is a good thing.
Yeah.
So that's where we've ended up. And I've sold the aquapods to the United States Air Force, to a Top Gun training station in Texas. They bought 4 of them, and so that started into the military. I sold many cities the new aquapods, and my latest sale was to Yale University in the East Coast. So slowly but surely, we're still making a difference and helping the environment. So that's basically the story, Nancy.
That's pretty cool. Is that the first time you ever created or invented something? Because, I mean, it's not easy.
No, it's not easy. It's difficult, and it does take a little bit of money in order to protect your invention.
Sure.
But I was lucky, with, small investors and things like that. But it wasn't, no, I invented, I was fascinated when I came across this company in microbiology. What it was, and that's a quick story. I hope we've got time.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
This was, I guess, about 15 years ago, or even 20 years ago, I guess. And I was involved in basic sales and came across this company that, was a chemical company, I guess. They made soaps and cleaners and things like that. And at the very same time, I was with one of my sons, who was a scuba diving instructor. I took scuba diving lessons. And it was fun and enjoyable, but there was one very unenjoyable part of it, and that was the wetsuits that you had to put on.
Right.
They're made of neoprene rubber and all of that, and it keeps you warm when you're in the cold ocean, but they end up smelling really, really bad. And even, like the store where I took the lessons and all of that, they had these rental suits. Well, it was just awful. It's like locker room order times 10.
Oh my God.
And because of the neoprene rubber, there's no real way to, get those odors out of there.
Right.
So, there was a product at the chemical company which was all natural, friendly bacteria that was created by one of the local manufacturers here, we thought, in Langley. It actually was created in Atlanta, Georgia. But what they did is they grew friendly bacteria. People hear the word bacteria, they think it's a bad thing.
Yes, yeah.
But there's good bacteria and bad bacteria. And so, when we go like this, there's millions of microscopic skin cells that fall off. And there's friendly bacteria on the floor that like to ingest those as food.
Right.
And we're talking in the microscopic world here. But so all of a sudden I'm learning all about this, and I'm going, I wonder if this would work with the wetsuits somehow, because it's microscopic and they can get right inside the pores. So that was where my inventive mind all of a sudden started. Now, I didn't have a background in science or physics or anything. I wished now that I had, because I find it fascinating, especially the world of microbiology. It's unbelievably fascinating.
Right.
So I got a bunch of these rental wetsuits, took them home to my apartment, and I took some of the friendly bacteria mixtures and poured it into the bathtub and swished these suits through it, hung them up to dry. So the very first day I did it, I just got lucky, or my hand was being guided by a divine intervention. Right. I don't know. Right. But I had the right mixture, and the next morning I walked into the bathroom. The wetsuit is dry now. It's been hanging up on the shower, and it was like brand new. There wasn't a smell to it. And what had happened is the bacteria had swum to the source of the odor, which is organic material. Yeah. And they had ingested that as food, and they basically pooped out water and CO2 gas, which to you and I is friendly. Right. It's the same as the winemaking process, you know. Okay. They expel alcohol and CO2. Mm. So these particular bacteria expel water and CO2. So I went to the head of the chemical company and I said, you know, this has tremendous potential. I've checked with the dive store. The only product that's available is a product called Sink the Stink. And it's a great name, yes, you know, from California and all of that. So typical, but it was basically just soap and it didn't really work. Okay. So he sent me down to the big Dive International show down in Los Angeles, and I went down there with some samples of this product, and I found a company that was a distributor in accessories to the scuba diving world all over the world. Mm. And they were based by chance in Bellingham, right south of us. Yeah. And their name was McNett Outdoor Products, and they're still there. So I approached the president of the company at the show and told him what I had, and he was so fascinated. He brought all his salespeople in after the show that day and had me explain it all to them. Well, they're all jumping up and down like, this is marvelous. Yeah, yeah. Because we can go to companies like REI in the United States and Mountain Equipment Co-op here in Canada, who are very environmentally conscious. So long story short, my wife and I ended up visiting all the Mountain Equipment Co-op stores from Vancouver Island right to the Maritimes. And we gave them all seminars and set them up. Yeah. And we called the product BioSport Extreme. Mm. And away it went. So that's sort of how that whole world started, and they still fascinate me. I have a little bit of the product that I still buy from the chemical company that we use around the house. You know, if you have a mark on the carpet from red wine, for an example, on white carpet, you can mix this with warm water, add it to the floor, and in about 8 or 10 hours, it's gone. Wow. It's all water and CO2. Nice. Amazing. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so it was that company that said, well, we're also getting involved in water purification for hikers and campers. And we have this A and B product called chlorine dioxide, which works really, really well. Are you interested in helping us distribute that? So I said, sure. And we ended up at the same chemical company calling our product Pristine. And Pristine is now all over the world and available at Walmart, all sorts of places, Canadian Tire. Right. And it became an incredible product. But that's sort of the transition from my original invention. I guess you call it an invention. It's Mother Nature. It's been there. It's just a matter of identifying, and creating a product. Yes, right. So that's how it all ended up. So I think it's been a pretty fascinating. It is fascinating. Last 10 years.
So where's this retirement?
Yeah, with computers and things like that, I think it's marvelous because we don't. to stay employed and to keep your mind active.
Yes, right.
I love it because my wife and I live in a mobile home.
Mhm.
And I go to work every day at 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. So that's not a long day.
Yeah, short day, yeah.
And that's if we don't have grandchildren coming over,
Okay.
that type of thing.
Yeah.
And so it's very casual, but nobody knows. I mean, I could be in an office in downtown
That's true,
Vancouver.
yeah.
I could be on a beach in Mexico drinking cerveza, or I could be, where I am.
Yeah.
And so the computer technologies have given that freedom.
Yeah.
And so I really think it helps in retirement to keep your mind active.
Oh, I agree, yes.
Yeah, you're doing what you're doing,
Yeah.
which, is
it does keep, I have to be thinking, right?
Yeah, you got to think.
Yeah.
And I think it really, really makes a difference.
Yes.
I've seen a lot of people that, I guess retire from, say, driving semi-trailer trucks or buses or whatever, because they reach an age where you're not allowed to drive anymore.
Yes.
And they're lost.
Yeah, if you don't have something else to do.
You've got to do something.
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting because my sister Kitty, I don't know if you met her. We were just talking about, as we age, it gets the brain, like if you live alone, if you don't go out and meet people, the brain gets lazy and lazy and lazy, right? You know? So we were talking about well, Kitty talked, she's busy, but like me, you always have to have things to do in it. But even for like if I go a couple of days without doing an interview or going out to the store or whatever, it's like, I can notice now because of aging how quickly the brain can shut down a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So, but I try to do like a crossword puzzle every morning, and I work on a jigsaw puzzle and, stuff like that when I'm not doing this type of thing. So,
That's right.
It's important.
I think it's really, really important. I mean, I do the same thing. I do this thing called Wordle.
Yeah, right.
That is a really fun thing to do. And it only takes, it makes you think.
Yeah.
And I get annoyed at myself for being stupid sometimes. And I do the New York Times mini crossword.
Yes.
The mini one is easy. I find the other one too difficult.
You don't want easy crosswords. It's no fun. It is no fun if they're too easy.
No, if they're too easy. But for me at my level, I've never been a crossword person, but
I'm sort of in between somewhere, I play Scrabble online,
Yeah.
I like word games very much. But
there's one called Wordle. Did you know?
I don't know if I heard of that or not.
It's like Scrabble, but you can chat to the other person.
Oh, I see.
All of that stuff.
I'm more of a individual person. I don't like to.
Yeah. You play against somebody.
Yeah.
Scrabble.
For sure. And Scrabble's good for me because I've always had trouble spelling from the time I was a little kid. That's why I like computers and spell check and all of these things. It's changed it's helped me tremendously. And as you said, with the technology world, like Zoom opened up I can interview anybody anywhere.
Yes.
Right. So to me, that's awesome. I've interviewed somebody who was in Norway and my son lives in China. I've interviewed him, and it's like, you couldn't do that without technology.
Oh, I know. It's just marvelous. I have 2 grandchildren that left home at the same time, just this fall.
Oh, okay.
And the elder one went to Kingston University, got accepted into engineering there, which was a really big deal. So he's gone. And then his brother, who's in grade 10, applied to a student exchange thing. So he went to France.
Oh,
and
nice.
He's in France right now. He's only 15.
Yeah, wow, what an experience.
Yeah, but I text with him every couple of days, and he sends me pictures. And it's the
nice,
technology is
wonderful. It's a good thing. I know a lot of older people, especially, are afraid of technology, which is unfortunate because once you learn something, like my daughter helps me a lot, or there's people that can help you, or you can go into YouTube and get all kinds of information for anything you need nowadays, right? Anyway, we're off the topic, but I just want to remind people about aquapods, right?
Aquapods are the machines that we currently sell. Yeah.
Now, is there anything, those are industrial things, right?
Yes, they are.
Like, is there anything for individuals?
Yeah, I sold one just yesterday. I do a little bit of just basic water purification, filtration systems for family and friends and people that I meet.
Yeah.
Because you know, the tap water we have coming out of the taps in North America is, well, in most of North America is really, really good. And the only thing it needs is to be cleaned up a little bit.
Right.
And so I do, you know, sell basic filtration systems that go under the kitchen sink.
Yeah.
And will filter all the cold water. And the filters are 10 microns in carbon block, which means that they're microscopic and they will filter out all sorts of stuff that's just in the lines that you wouldn't want to know about. But after the filter's been on for 6 months and you empty it, it's unbelievably dirty.
Is that right?
But but the filters, even though they're microscopic, still leave the minerals and salts in the water that your body needs. And that's the important part. Because you've heard of reverse osmosis?
Yes,
or RO? Okay. That's a great product, but it's designed to take everything out of the water, like way, way down in the microscopic world. So it does, you know, take arsenic out, for an example, and things like that, and salt out of salt water if you're in a sailboat in the middle of the ocean, so you can drink the water. So it's desalination, but unfortunately, it strips the water of all the minerals and salts. So you're, you know, it's not good to drink RO on a regular basis. That's what put it that way. So it's like with bottled water. If you have to buy bottled water, which is convenient and necessary sometimes, try to buy spring water that has been ozonated. Because that way you've got all the minerals still in the you know, in the bottle. And you know, but the chlorine and all the rest of it has been taken out, so it's a safe product to drink.
And speaking of water, I buy bottled water occasionally, not a lot. But I reuse them. I clean them, I wash them, and I reuse them. You know, because I don't know how good my you know, you can go to Walmart and buy a filter system that, you know, put in a picture and stuff like that. I don't know how good they are compared to you know, like an aquapod sort of idea. But that's what I do. I don't use a bottle once and then just put it in the recycle bin, you know.
It's okay to reuse them for a month or so.
Well, you can tell there is a
because they start to degrade. And that's not a good thing.
Right. You can actually see that.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, I've noticed that myself. So
the other way to do it, of course, is to what I do is I have a bottle that's reusable. You know, that I don't know, I paid $15 for or something. But it's a thermos type bottle, so it keeps the water cold. So what I do when I go out for the day or whatever is I take that bottle and fill it with ice cubes and then fill it with cold water from my filtered water side. And I'm, you know, those ice cubes will be in there at the same time tomorrow. You know, it really is great water. But even if you had a Brita, for an example, that really doesn't filter anything, but it does take the chlorine out of the water.
It does take the chlorine.
And that's all it's designed to do. Micron wise, it's like 300 or 400. I mean, it's nowhere near what I'm talking about at 5 or 10. So, but you know, our water is generally good and all that. I don't want to frighten anybody. I mean, our water is really good in North America, but for an example, if you go to Las Vegas, you don't dare drink water out of the tap. I mean, it's just awful. You run it through one of these filtration systems or an aquapod or a water fills machine. It's just like bottled water quality.
Very good.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to stop there. Okay. just thank you for everybody. Thank you for watching, everybody. This has been Paul Wilson, and I find the topic really, really fascinating. It's super, super interesting. I hope you found it interesting as well. And if you want more information, I suppose, they can probably contact you somewhere?
Yes, they could.
Do you have a business card or something, or are you online, or?
Yeah, I'm not really online. I'm sort of semi-retired, as you know.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to give my, I do have a business card. I do have a cell phone number.
Well, okay, so what I'll do when this renders, I'll just put your cell phone number underneath.
Okay.
Okay, how's that?
That sounds perfect.
And then if people want to contact you,
they can phone me, and if they have any questions, I'm happy to answer them as well.
Very good.
I love the topic, both friendly bacteria, little bugs, as well as water purification. One side we're using the bacteria, the other side we're killing the bacteria with the water purification. But
and what I liked is, as you're explaining things, it's easy to understand.
Yes.
It's not words that I can't figure out what you're talking about, so I appreciate that.
Okay.
Anyway, so
thanks, Nancy.
You're welcome. I don't want the Zoom to shut us down because we only have a certain amount of time.
Okay.
So thanks everybody for watching the show. I appreciate you doing it, and if you like and share and subscribe, it'd be really nice. Just a reminder to be kind, and peace out, everybody.
A sense of community, Chilliwack's a place to be. A sense of community where you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me. It's multicultural, you're sure to see it all. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see. Come party in the park, go dancing after dark. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see.